In marketing, everything must work seamlessly, or efficiency, speed, and ROI all suffer. That's why Quad is obsessed with making sure your marketing machine runs smoothly, with less friction and smarter integration. Better marketing is built on Quad. See how better gets done at www.quad.com/buildbetter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Banking and Payment Show, a behind the numbers podcast from eMarketer made possible by Quad. Today is July 8th, 2025. I'm Rob Rubin, Head of Business Development at eMarketer, and your host. Today, we're going to talk about how AI will transform bank marketing. I'm really excited to have AI analyst Jacob Bourne and banking analyst Lauren Ashcraft join me for this discussion. Hey guys, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Glad to be here.
I wanted to ask you guys, just before we jump into the topic to warm us up, what's the most fun thing you do with AI in your personal life playing with it? What do you enjoy? Like, what's the most fun?
Well, I'm having a baby in October. I don't know if I told you.
What? I did not know
I'm so
that.
sorry that it's coming out on a podcast. But
Congratulations.
thank you. I recently gave it characteristics of names that we're interested in, and asked it for 10 suggestions. I hated them all, but I
All
thought
right.
that was a fun process. So
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd always use the word fun, but I think in general it's nice to be able to just ask AI the most random questions that wouldn't really necessarily be appropriate for a traditional search query, and you might not want to ask other people, and you can just ask AI.
Mhm.
I'll take that to my example,
Okay.
which is my dog's name is Buster, and his full name is Mr. Buster Snuggles.
Oh,
And
that's adorable.
Mr. Snuggles, if he's misbehaving. So I asked ChatGPT what Buster would look like as a human,
Mm,
Oh,
that's a
I
good
like
one.
and
that.
it was hilarious.
Yeah.
ChatGPT nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to share that with us after.
It is hilarious. Anyway, let's get right to our first segment today, Story by Numbers. In Story by Numbers, I pick a few numbers or a number to help us frame bank marketing. And today, I picked a huge number, $42.6 billion dollars. And that is US financial services digital ad spend. It's our forecast for 2025. Now, that's not all B2C spending for sure, but 42.6 billion divided by the number of adults in the US is $165 a year for every adult. So they're spending a lot of money already. So let's talk about how AI is getting itself involved because there's a lot of money there. How has AI changed FinServ's approach to advertising, or has it really?
I feel like it's really just kept bank marketers constantly in an evolutionary state because it started off allowing banks to better personalize, better target, and there is some content creation, although it has to be heavily, heavily vetted and edited by
Yeah.
humans to stay compliant. For example, agentic AI is starting to happen in the banking industry, and that will change by making, for example, chatbots way more able to completely manage customer situations from beginning to
But
end.
will that change the way they advertise?
I do think there's some possibilities with allowing better understanding of customers through that, which can feed back into data-driven marketing. But what's really about to change bank marketing, I think, it is something that is a challenge, is being able to have your content show up in generative search engines because it's a
Oh,
completely different game than having a great SEO score or showing up in regular search engines. You have
yeah.
to tailor your content to answer questions that people are using generative search engines for. So that's new. And maybe 2 months from now, there's going to be completely new things that bank marketers have to keep thinking about. So it's just constantly changing. That's how AI is impacting bank marketing right now.
So right now you're saying, and that's really, I hadn't even thought about it, but all of the SEO people are trying to quickly learn how it's different
Hmm.
so that they
Yeah.
can become AI experts.
Yeah, definitely. And the article that we just published, we have a lot of tips in it, but it seems to be really important to be writing content just to answer questions, to kind of
Ah,
preempt customers' questions about banking. And then when they search answers for those questions, your bank will come up in the search. So there's completely different tactics that bank marketers aren't necessarily already employing. And who knows what those challenges will be a couple months from now.
will they use AI to answer the question so that AI can...
Yeah, just an
Yeah.
endless loop of AI.
Well, one good example of that is actually Wells Fargo with its Gen AI powered Fargo assistant,
Mhm.
that it's actually getting a lot of traction in terms of customer use. I mean, it had in 2024, it had 245.4 million customer interactions, which I guess was
I read that too, and that's way
double.
over,
It was
right?
double what they thought
Yeah,
it would be, which means
yeah,
that people are using it and also, I guess, having longer conversations than they thought they would.
yeah. Is Erica from Bank of America also Gen AI? Because I read that it wasn't.
Yeah, I have not heard about a Gen AI integration with Erica yet, so that might
Yeah, I
be
don't believe it is, but it's still more popular than Wells Fargo.
in terms of use.
I
I mean,
think
it's been
so.
around longer, right? I mean, well,
Yeah,
Fargo,
Mhm.
the Gen AI Fargo is new, so
yeah. No,
but
that's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
queries. What about other industries? Like, how are we seeing other industries build AI into their marketing stacks?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing AI all over other industries, especially in marketing and programmatic advertising. Another financial services example with programmatic advertising is MasterCard, which
All right.
actually saw a 254% increase in click-through rates using AI-powered programmatic advertising. And that's because the AI algorithms can just analyze, behavior patterns in real time in a matter of seconds, which,
And
and
re-optimize.
re-optimize exactly and across multiple channels simultaneously. And we're seeing this across the major platforms with Google, Amazon, Meta using AI. Google's Performance Max and Advantage Plus got AI enhancements and do a similar thing, making these split
Right. And
second.
they're doing target bidding now.
Yep.
And also the next wave is potentially profit-based bidding.
Mm.
So AI, if they had a little understanding of some of the costs and margins of products, and when they're advertising, it would be able to also start bidding based on achieving profit
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it seems like there are potentially limitless applications for AI, and we're certainly seeing a lot of experiments. A recent one on the social media front is Reddit, that launched its AI insights to read through conversations of users on its platform and create summaries of what people thought about ads or product descriptions. And that actually gave advertisers apparently a 19% boost in click-through rates
Mm.
because people are not just seeing the ads, they're seeing what other users are saying about them. And AI
Interesting.
Right.
is allowing that to happen. So
That leads to like another area like synthetic customers.
yes,
So using AI to
digital twins.
predict
Yeah.
how a campaign might work.
That's a huge area. The digital twin simulations where you can have AI, generating an entire customer base, and also in predicting how they're going to act, how they're going to respond to a particular campaign, and then you, of course,
Yeah.
can re-optimize that campaign before you launch using the kind of the data that you get from that simulation. So it's pretty powerful.
So it feels like AI is here.
It's here.
P-
Oh yes.
it's definitely getting used in a big way,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's still early days, right? Like we haven't scaled, like the idea of producing marketing content at scale is not today.
That's what I'm most skeptical about, just from the compliance aspect of banking. Just the amount of human oversight needed for content before it goes into an ad is very important.
But couldn't you have like, as we move to agentic AI, can a bank have a compliance agent that
Yeah.
is working with the marketing
Well, I mean,
creative
that's the
agent?
dream, right? That's the dream of agentic AI is that you have the power of generative AI and then you also add this powerful automation. But I think
Hmm.
the thing is, Lauren's right, you still need that oversight. And once you have that oversight, it's still not fully automated. So
Yeah.
it's incremental improvements and we're seeing it happen, but I think we're a long way along. If we ever do get to lack of human oversight completely, I'm not sure. But certainly there's still quite a bit that's needed.
If you had oversight, right? Like if human oversight led to a 1% error rate,
Mhm.
right? So we have 1% of errors because we have human oversight, which is, let's say that's good. Right now, if AI can beat that, why would we have human oversight? In other words, if AI can do it as well, same error rate or better, why would we want to pay a human to do it?
And that's a very compelling argument. I don't think we're there yet. I'm not sure.
No,
Yeah,
but when you said never, I'm challenging the
right.
never.
Well, that's a powerful data point, but there's always the question as to whether the AI fully understands human context.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so while that data point might be true in a way, it could be that you always want a human in the loop because people understand people on a fundamental level that AI might not ever.
That's
right.
true.
Now let's take it a step further in our final segment for argument's sake, where we will argue nicely, and I can feel the temperature already up there, so I'm happy about it, about how AI is going to actually disrupt FinServ marketing. So what I've done is I've created five potential areas that we've been chatting about, where of marketing where AI is going to be disruptive. And what I want us to think about is which area will AI take over soonest? So what we're going to do, and we've already done this, I'll explain it to everybody listening, is I'm going to read these five out. We've all ranked separately but not shared what we think is going to be the most impactful to least impactful in 2026, and then re-rank them again in what we think for 2029 so we can see how we think it might evolve and where we're different. So the first one is bundling products dynamically. So being able to analyze transaction history, their demographics, their life events, to be able to dynamically suggest product bundles, and that those offers evolve with their needs as their needs change. So that's the first one. The second is predicting churn, which we kind of talked about, right? Models trained on behavioral data to create like early signals of any kind of dissatisfaction or churn because retaining a customer is a lot more efficient than acquiring a new customer. So trying to keep churn down. Generating marketing content at scale, something we've talked about. So AI to produce compliant, brand aligned marketing content like ads, emails, landing pages, really fast and much lower cost than what we have today. Testing marketing campaigns, so AI simulating campaign outcomes through hundreds of variations to optimize creatives and channels before launch. And then helping prospects choose products. So enabling prospects to explore banking products in a chat, and the bots can gather information, pre-qualify leads, and then even pass them to human agents at the right moment. So, Lauren, why don't you start with your list? What's your number one in 2026?
So I kind of combined bundling products dynamically and helping prospects choose products. Because
That's what I did too.
yeah, oh awesome. Great minds think
But
alike.
yeah,
I ranked them first. Because we
in 2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because some of that's already happening, especially in some more powerful like financial apps, fintech apps.
All right.
And I think it can only get even better from there.
Jacob, were those your firsts?
Well, I
They
do
were not mine.
I do have helping prospects choose products as the number one,
Nice.
but I actually for 2026 I put bundling products dynamic as like number four, not because
Mhm.
I don't think it's impactful, but because I don't think the technology is quite there. to be able to do that effectively all the
Right.
time compared to a human. Just in terms of what I've heard about AI analyzing financial data, it can be hit or miss at times. And so I think while very impactful, it's kind of a bit down the road on that one.
So that's sort of where I went. Whereas one, I put them together. I both in 26 and 29, I put bundling and chat sort of as the same together,
Hmm.
but I put them as the least impactful for 2026 compared to predicting churn as the most impactful.
Mm,
Like I think that it's the easiest one for them to do.
yeah.
Like to be able to find the to do a better job finding signals for churn,
Yeah.
and then producing marketing content. And the difference is that I don't think that they're producing it yet at like when I say at scale,
Hmm.
but I have to believe that they're running their whatever they edited, they're asking some AI to clean it up.
Yeah.
So they're shortening the time that it takes them to generate content at a minimum.
Which in itself is hugely impactful. So I actually put that at
Right.
my number two because I think the
All right.
technology is there
Yeah, I had it
despite
number two as well. There
despite
you go.
needing human oversight still, it's saving a lot of time and money.
Hmm.
Lauren, which were your least impactful for this year then? Was it
It's
synthetic customers or what?
no, I had testing marketing campaigns as number three.
So
Predicting
did I.
churn, I had number four. I want to see more of this. I actually just wrote an article about how banks can, for example, predict that their senior customers are facing cognitive decline with a couple of different patterns for their buying. I would love to see much more of that because there's a lot of opportunity to build stronger relationships with customers and their families and loved ones, especially
Yeah.
with things like that. And then generative marketing is just my personal thing. I'm most skeptical of humans being taken out of that process soon. But I think by 2029, I bumped it way up in my list because I do think that ChatGPT has already improved so much over the last few versions that I actually have no idea what it'll look like by 2029. But
Yeah.
by then, maybe it will stop hallucinating as much. So,
So in 2029, I had the being able to help customers pick products and bundling as one and two.
mm,
Like that by then, the technology is going to be there. People are going to trust
Yeah.
the recommendations more than they might trust them today. And then we have a generation that's growing up with it, and they'll be more ready to buy and use AI. I think I read an article that you wrote about how Gen Z are really interested in self-serve.
Yeah.
yes.
So the idea that they'll be able to buy without having to talk to a human might be appealing. Um, and then even though I put predicting churn as number one in 2026 out of this list of five, I put it as the least impactful in 2029, just because I thought it was sort of one of the easier things to accomplish today, and it'll be table
Mm.
stakes.
That makes
I
sense.
actually put predicting churn in number five for both lists, and that
All
the
right.
reason why is because you can have an AI that can do that, sure, but it's ultimately up to the company's policies about whether they're going to take action. And yeah, I think you do need a human to take action on that. And I think so often we don't see companies taking action on that point.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's like a structural challenge, just having worked with banks, is that the people who would take action on it would be the local branch
Mm,
people.
hmm.
Like that's how a bank would think about it.
Hmm.
And the local branch people are not incented for that. They're incented to sell
Right.
products to,
Yeah.
right? That's just not their incentive. So it's hard to get them to do that. And for a lot of banks, traditionally, churn's been pretty low, sort of on the scale of other businesses,
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
right? So it's not necessarily been one of their biggest issues. But as customer acquisition gets more and more expensive, as the tentacles of technology get deeper and deeper into people's lives, it's harder to switch.
Yeah.
So if you have someone that's leaving, you ought to be able to help them not switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it were a ranking of what I think is most important, that would definitely be towards the top of my
All
ranking,
right.
Right.
just because the tools are there
Yeah.
and it is so important, especially as, I mean, Klarna is becoming more of a bank. All these huge fintechs are inching more into banking
Yeah.
territory and competition's just constantly heating up. If you
Didn't I
want,
read in one of your articles
yeah.
that I'm plugging you, and we're going to put all these articles in the show notes. How's that? But that fintechs have more personal loans than banks or credit unions in terms of the percentage of personal loans that are out there. They're owned by fintechs. They own that space.
Yeah. And ironically, if banks use AI to enable their customer-facing staff to be the knowledgeable, empathetic humans that they are, that's the differentiator right there. So I
Mhm.
think predicting churn and having like a really nice human that knows you
Yeah.
at your local branch reach out and touch base, I think that would be an important
Yeah.
strategy.
I mean, I think Lauren, that's a great example of just using AI, maximizing the strengths of AI, and then also keeping the humans in the loop and maximizing the
Mhm.
strengths of the human. And I think that's the ideal
Yes,
use is let AI do what it's good at and keep humans, with the relationship facing end of the job.
definitely.
That seems like a great place for us to sort of try to just sum up where we are with the list. And I think that in terms of helping consumers choose products and even bundling those products together, we all agreed that that's super
Hmm.
impactful. And I
Hmm.
think where we were a little bit different is whether we think the technology is
Yes.
quite there yet and the consumer trust in using that purely AI advice to act on. And then the other one we talked a lot about is using it to predict churn. And I think we all agree it would be impactful, or it would be important, but we maybe didn't always agree if it would be hugely impactful.
Hmm.
I think it was the word impactful that was messing us up there. And then on the marketing content at scale, and using synthetic audiences, we didn't actually touch on it that much because it's mid-tier, right? It's not going to be the most impactful or the least impactful, but it's going to be out there.
Yeah.
I think with the synthetic customers, I think we're going to have like third parties that build synthetic
Yeah.
audiences that they license.
Yeah, I mean, I had that as my number three for 2029. I think it's going to be very impactful, and the technology is getting there. But I think this whole notion of using digital twins for that purpose is it's fairly new, and
Yeah.
so I think it's going to there's going to need some time for companies to start actually experimenting with it.
I feel like scientific data, like synthetic medical testing might be really impactful, but helping banks figure out how you might react to a campaign.
No, I
Um,
think you're right. I mean, the whole digital twin simulation use that started it as a scientific and industrial use case. It's only like over the past year that it's even been talked about for marketing. And I think you're right. We do need that synthetic data created first, but I think it will become more impactful for marketing as time goes on, as AI gets
yeah.
better, as people start to trust it for various use cases more.
Just an example of how much AI has changed just in the last couple of years. In my previous life, I was a marketing copywriter, and we would laugh at AI generated
Mm,
ads because it's like people with 17 fingers and like
right, right.
Right, right,
endless
right,
loops
right.
of cheese when people are eating pizza. And now I saw a video that I would bet all of my money that it was a real
Hmm.
cast of actors and a real set. It was 100% AI.
I know.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time even imagining what's shortly down the road, like next year. No idea, but I do know that bank marketers will have to constantly be updating what they
Right.
think they know.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I mean, that's AI right there. I mean, it's accelerating so quickly. I mean, it was just, I think last month that Google released its VO3 image generator that floored everybody in terms of the photorealism. And
Mm,
but it's a recent release, and so I think we're going to see more ads created using it,
yeah,
and I think it's going to be harder to really distinguish between what's AI generated and what's human generated.
totally.
that's going to be a tough one.
Hmm.
Um, I want to thank both of you for today. I had the best time.
Me
So,
too.
Lauren, Jacob, thanks for the discussion.
Yeah.
It was really so insightful. And thanks, everyone, for listening to the Banking and Payments Show, an eMarketer podcast made possible by Quad. Also, thank you to our studio team that puts these episodes together. Our next episode is going to be on August 12th, so be sure to check it out. See you then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.